Don't leave me alone here. I'm begging you, please.
Founding Mothers. Sarah Brown, 1877 through 1968. Inez Williams, 1879 through 1922. Mabel Gardner, 1881 through 1960. Sandra Ann Freeman, 1880 to unknown. Sophia Williams, 1883 through 1980.
In the swamp we suffered, but not as much as if we'd stayed in town. I was fixing plates for dinner when I heard the shots. The sounds rolled closer with the speed of a summer storm, so fast there was no time to lie to ourselves about what this was. Daddy jumped up and pushed his pistol into my hands. Baby girl, I gotta hold the line. Anybody come to the door that ain't me, smoke 'em. And he dashed out into the dusk with his rifle. Not 10 minutes later, fists and then what sounded like boots banged on my door. I tried to do as I'd been taught. I took a deep breath, aimed, and cocked the weapon. But lucky for me, I hesitated to pull the trigger. It probably saved my life. Sophie! Sarah screamed my name. Is you here? It felt like I snatched the door off the hinges. Since my big sister Vertus got married last year and moved near Raleigh, Sarah had taken over the role. She would check on me, take me out to dances sometimes, and just make sure I didn't get into too much trouble. Thank the Lord, she hugged my neck. I got over here fast as I could. Grab anything you need, gal, but we got to go. I pulled out Daddy's hunting bag. It already held his leather, his big knife, and a whetstone. I wrapped up the meat and the biscuits from dinner, tucked the pistol in my pocket, and followed her dumbly into the streets. Outside was chaos. The air was gray with smoke that concealed faces until they were almost on you, but nothing could cover the sounds. People wailing in terror, horses screaming, bullets whizzing by, and that soft, sick thud when they found the mark. The white folks were hunting us down like rabbits. I saw Mrs. Greer, my old Sunday school teacher, splayed out on her back. Half her face was covered in mud. The other half just wasn't. Don't look, Sophie. Sarah pulled me along the walls. Just keep moving. From the looks of things, we were doubling back behind enemy lines. Though we were heading for the swamp, Sarah's took us on a circuitous route that had already been burned through by the mobs. It was a risky but shrewd decision to avoid attracting the attention of the berserkers. We passed by the Townsend place and saw it almost burned to the ground. I never understood why a rich brick mason would own a wooden house, even as fancy as it was. Daddy said old man Townsend just wanted to show off that he could. Its columns and balconies always reminded me of plantation houses. Now it was mostly embers. Sarah spotted Alice and Walter Townsend in a nearby field. They were on the ground holding hands, sitting almost as still as the bodies of their folks. We looked at each other for a minute. There wasn't much that could be said. You want your ma'am's earrings? I finally asked. Alice nodded, so I got them for her, then tapped Mr. Townsend's pockets and gave Walter his gentlemanly pearl-handled pocket knife. That might be all they would inherit of their fine life. We'll sort it out later. Right now, let your feet do the thinking, Sarah told the twins. She didn't speak unkindly, but there was a hardness to her voice that brooked no argument. It did invoke a strange kind of comfort. Sarah was no mother. She was a general, and we were unmistakably at war. Alice and Walter creaked to their feet like little old people, so stiff I wondered how long they'd been sitting there. From then on, we sought to conscript any woman or child we came across into our band. Some had to be pulled off of their loved ones' corpses. Others were too injured to come with us. They called out weakly for help. These were our neighbors, our friends. Sarah didn't break stride, and marching behind her, neither did the rest of us. Mabel must have had a similar instinct, if not the same level of fortitude. We found her huddled behind an overturned carriage, a few children she tutored standing in a protective ring around her. The shooting had started right as evening lessons began, and Mabel made it as far as she could before being paralyzed by terror. Every few seconds, muscle spasms racked the stout girl's body so bad she could hardly stand upright. Sarah hugged her hard, as if to absorb the girl's fear into her own body. "Can't stay here, May," she murmured. "They be coming back around to loot soon. We're making it to the woods. Come with us." We kept a brisk pace, carrying the smallest of the babies on our hips and shoulders when they got too tired to walk. It was a miracle the mobs didn't catch us. We avoided light and noise, and the whites we did see were occupied stealing and destroying merchandise or vandalizing. Sarah kept us in a tight formation, and I kept my hand on the pistol just in case. When the edge of town was some miles behind us, we built a campfire. The light drew more of us out of the shadows, like little ghosts. First was Sandra Ann. I'd only seen her a few times in town. She was about Sarah's age, but didn't have family that anybody knew about. She was quiet, paid weekly for a room, and kept to herself. She slinked up to the group so silently, it took a second to recognize she wasn't one of the ones who had been with us all along. I near jumped out of my skin, but Sarah smiled. "Hey, Sandy. Praise the Lord. Anybody else make it out with you?" Sandra beckoned behind her, and more stepped from out of the bush. Inez, another girl from the boarding house, and 3 little girls. All told, it was 16 of us. Chitters and coons and growling things normally would fill us with fear, but that wasn't nothing compared to seeing piles of our neighbors laid in the street, their eyes wide open in death. We didn't have to assign a watch. Except for the youngest, none of us could sleep. We stared into the fire, our thoughts only broken by an occasional sniffle or sob. "Sophie," Sarah asked suddenly, "you still got them biscuits?" Everyone got half. Someone else had a chunk of cheese and salt pork, and for a second it felt like some kind of topsy-turvy picnic. Then I thought about my daddy, and the food turned to ashes in my mouth. That's when Sandra Ann started to sing.